I'm very grateful to all of you for being here today. I know there's a lot of competition. There's competition in Pondi from something at Saka, and there's a lot of competition here in Auroville with important meetings that are going on. But we announced this event first. We have announced it way back in April, and I'm very glad that some of you are here. Many familiar faces. It's so nice to see the familiar faces, and it's nice to see some new faces also. So with joy, I welcome you all to this fourth Dr. M.V. Nadkarni Memorial Lecture. It's a great honor for me to be asked and allowed to be in the speaker's seat instead of the hostess. My team here have done a wonderful job of all the preparations. I told them this time I'm just the speaker, you have to take care of all the details. And so far as I can see, it's been done very, very nicely. And it's a joy for all of us here at Savitri Bhavan to participate in this annual tribute to Dr. Nadkarni. Savitri Bhavan has been blessed by the Divine Grace with three very special patrons. The first to grasp the significance of this project was our beloved elder brother, Dr. Nirod Baran, who inspired us all when he laid the foundation stone of Savitri Bhavan on November 24th, 1995, and invoked the presence and blessings of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother for this place and its mission, which at that time he envisioned more clearly than any of us. He had a very clear vision of the mission of Savitri Bhavan, and we have had to gradually grasp that. And I believe that it was in the following year, probably 1996, that Dr. Nadkarni came here for the first time and sat with us one Sunday morning under the teak trees. At that time there was no building, not even the Keat hut we had later on. And that day he shared with us his love of Sri Aurobindo's Savitri and the fascination which motivated him to share his explorations of it with whoever would listen to him, wherever he happened to be. By then he'd already initiated his series of regular darshan study camps at the beach office in Pondicherry. And from 1997 onwards, he started coming here personally at first, after the close of those study camps, to share the content of the study camps with us here. And gradually more and more of his students, some of you must have been amongst them, would come along and share those sessions. So it was in August 1999 that he gave the first official summary session here in the garden. The first building had just come up and just been opened, and we all sat out here in the garden. That became a regular event which continued twice a year up to March 2007, when he addressed us all here for the last time. And he sat here where I'm sitting now and inaugurated the use of this amphitheatre. It was the very first time that we used it. So today again we are here to commemorate those happy occasions and to express our gratitude to that great Savitri lover who gathered us all together here for what he regarded as sacred yajnas, consecrated worship of the mantric epic through reverential study, attempting to draw ever deeper towards the mystic kernel of the Master's revelations. It's in grateful memory and celebration of all that he brought to us that I offer this sharing this afternoon. And the third patron, of course, was Huta, who in 2001 handed over to our care all the meditations on Savitri paintings which she'd created under the Mother's guidance from 1961 to 66, along with a lot of related materials. So her goodwill and support until her passing in November 2011 has formed a substantial base for the development of Savitri Bhavan. This talk may be a little longer than the other ones. Dr. Nadkarni was a professional and he stuck strictly to the academic hour, which is only 45 minutes. And Dr. Alok last time spoke for a little longer. I may have been a little over-ambitious in the scope of what I felt inspired to share with you of my own explorations in this never-ending ocean of gems, which is Savitri. So that's why we set the starting time a little earlier, so that all of you can be sure of reaching Pondicherry by 6 p.m. without any problem. I've subtitled this talk, Part 1 of Savitri. This is the part of the poem which Sri Aurobindo spent most time on composing and revising. And it underwent a huge enlargement from 1937 to 1944. During that time, the theme of Aswapati's yoga and the worlds and planes through which he traveled expanded from 471 lines in the version as it stood in January 1937 to over 10,000 lines in the final version. I shall not be discussing Cantos 1 and 2 of Book 1, the Book of Beginnings. Those two cantos form the glorious overture to Sri Aurobindo's symphonic epic. And Canto 4, The Secret Knowledge, will be mentioned only in passing. I shall try to stick to the main theme, the traveler and the worlds he passes through and conquers. And I'd like to close with a final glance at the significance of this part of the poem for us, its readers. So, the traveler, Aswapati. Who is this traveler? I'm sure you're all familiar with the author's note, Sri Aurobindo's author's note, where he says that Aswapati, the lord of the horse, Savitri's human father, is the lord of tapasya, the concentrated energy of spiritual endeavor that helps us to rise from the mortal to the immortal plane. That is his role. And of course he mentions in the same note that the characters in the poem are not personified qualities, but incarnations or emanations of living and conscious forces with whom we can enter into concrete touch. And they take human bodies in order to help man and show him the way from his mortal state to a divine consciousness and immortal life. When Sri Aurobindo introduces Aswapati in the poem, he calls him one in the front of the immemorial quest, a leader, a thinker and toiler in the ideal's air, a colonist from immortality. And Mother has made a very interesting comment on these lines and the following ones. I've cut all my quotations very short, otherwise we could be here all night. No, I wanted to make long quotations. Mother has said, this is the description of the one through whom Savitri was born. Sri Aurobindo says it's through the intermediary of somebody who did not belong to the earth, but came from higher and freer regions. This is the description of one of those who are not purely human, but whose origin is far higher, far greater, and whose existence is much longer than the existence of the earth. When these come upon earth, it is to help the whole of humanity to rise towards the highest consciousness. His name means the Lord of the Horse. And in the Vedic imagery, the horse is a symbol of energy, usually vital energy. So all of us have horses, but usually we are not in full control of them. But Aswapati is the Lord, the master of his energies, and he can direct them to the fulfillment of his aims and aspirations. In a talk with some disciples, Sri Aurobindo is reported to have said, Aswapati, the father of Savitri, is the Lord of energy. The birth of Savitri is a boon of the supreme goddess given to Aswapati. Aswapati is the yogi who seeks the means to deliver the world out of ignorance. Is he Sri Aurobindo? It has become almost a commonplace of Savitri commentary to say that the account of Aswapati's yoga, as shown in part 1 of the poem, can be seen as Sri Aurobindo's spiritual autobiography. And just as devotees and Savitri lovers identify the figure of Savitri with the mother, Sri Aurobindo is identified with King Aswapati. For what greater embodiment of that concentrated energy and that yogic aspiration to deliver the world has there ever been than the Master himself? Nevertheless, I think that we need to be careful to avoid making this identification too literal. Once when I wrote Aswapati can be seen as Sri Aurobindo himself, My beloved teacher Amal Kiran corrected me by adding the words "an aspect of" before Sri Aurobindo's name. Undoubtedly, the yoga of Aswapati must be based on and authenticated by Sri Aurobindo's own experiences, as also on experiences of the mother. And we shouldn't forget that the whole poem, and not the description of a particular character only, is an expression of Sri Aurobindo's vision and his experience. Whatever is contained in this supreme revelation, this supreme achievement of spiritual poetry, is the product of Sri Aurobindo's consciousness and experience, based not on imagination, but his own direct lived experiences. However, so far as we can tell from what Sri Aurobindo's revealed about the course of his own sadhana, it didn't follow exactly the orderly scheme that he has shown for his Aswapati. And when he was asked directly about this, Sri Aurobindo has stated explicitly, this incarnation of Savitri is supposed to have taken place in far past times, when the whole thing had to be opened so as to hew the ways of immortality. The circumstances of